Hello everyone, and now welcome to a game. This game is going to be between PCG123 and Sini, taking place here on Concealed Hill. Here we have, PCG123 spawning as the blue undead on the top right-hand side of the map, going up against Sini spawning as the yellow night elf on the bottom left. It should be a great matchup. Really looking forward to the game here. Let's see what unfolds and gets underway in this 1v1. Undead versus Night Elf. Amazing how much the game can change over a course of just a couple of months when, patches are released. And I'm still trying to figure out what the meta is for Night Elf. Oftentimes I see a lot of Night Elf players going into dryads, and then piercing damage is just so effective against or so weak against a siege and unarmored armor types are so weak against piercing and siege. So and now that huntresses have that heavy armor, why don't we see more huntress play or more bear play, and then all of those transitions? So it really feels like players are still trying to figure out what they're trying to do in terms of a long-term strategy. Meanwhile, what are we holding on here? Well, it is going to be a Death Knight going up against a Keeper of the Grove. No big surprises. There's that another Moonwell, as both sides are now scouting out with one of those early workers to figure out what their opponent is doing. Keeping tabs on your opponent, such an important part of WarCraft 3 or any real-time strategy game, knowing what they have. As we're looking at the Archer now, taking a little bit of damage from that Acolyte. That Acolyte, getting in some nice little love taps onto that Archer. Archer does not have natural regeneration during the day as the Keeper of the Grove now makes its way out. Are we going to see some damage go down onto some of those other units? There goes an Entangle. So that's going to be a quick death on a unit right there. And now the Keeper of the Grove is going to take a little bit longer to try and clear out the remainder of this creep camp since he doesn't have those treants. All right, another shot right there. That's going to get taken out. Claws of Attack +5, extremely helpful for that Keeper of the Grove, dealing essentially 25% more damage early in the game. Heading off to the north here, Death Knight also having Claws of Attack +5 as well, as we're looking at this Forest Troll Trapper now getting taken down. Dual skeletal, quad skeletal minions? Nope. Triple skeletal minions, one of those earlier skeletal minions already taken out, as the Keeper of the Grove gonna purposely aggro some giant sea turtle creep camps. Nope. The skeletal minion actually doing a bit of scouting here as we see an Entangle go down under the giant sea turtle. All right, who's going to get the last hit on that giant sea turtle? That's going to be the question, as we're looking at that skeletal minion purposely trying to back away. One more final shot would have finished it off, but no, the skeletal minion able to back away enough. Nope. One more attack. Skeletal minion down to 17 hit points. It does get taken out, and the Keeper of the Grove benefiting from additional experience again. Death Knight off to the north does go for Unholy Aura. No surprises. And yeah, I would be very surprised if I saw a Death Pact at level 2 from the Death Knight, especially with the introduction of that Ritual Dagger. Healing early on and not going to be necessarily that important. That Death Pact normally like a level 7 ability or level 8 ability, or earliest I've ever seen it is level 4. Death Knight now going after the Ogre Magi creep camp here. Skeletal minion tanking all of that damage. Death Knight does have some burst heals. Meanwhile, Keeper of the Grove ready for some harassment, has a Staff of Teleportation to get out of any tight situations if necessary. Is he going to try and entangle here? There's an Entangle. There's going to be some treants, and now some damage onto that one Acolyte. Death Knight going to come across, get a Death Coil here, and now the Keeper of the Grove just forced to try and retreat back now. Death onto an Acolyte would have been an extremely large setback, since PCG123 would not have been able to retrain up that Acolyte until the upgrade to Tier 2 was done. Keeper of the Grove now making its way down here, going after this Null Overseer creep camp. Skeletal Warrior taking quite a bit of damage, a little bit of damage over time as well, as this Keeper of the Grove finishes off this Null Overseer purposely by, separating it from the rest of the group. Ring of Regeneration now picked up, perhaps It can go down on a frontline hero, Demon Hunter, or some other unit here, as the Null Assassins are still spreading poison across multiple units here. Tome of Intelligence, Death Knight now sitting at level 3. That's going to be some quick dead archers, as even though they have that little bit of magic resistance, not going to be enough. Are we going to see another Death Coil onto that archer? Archer gets taken down again. 2 archers taken down early on by PCG123. Sini is going to be in some trouble there, as we do see a Panda as that backup hero. All right. Not quite sure if it really needed a drink from any Moonwell juice there. Ring of Regeneration would have been more than enough. We're looking at the Death Knight going up against the archers here. A little bit of pelting damage as the Death Knight now retreats back at 520, well, some odd hit points. Tech to Tier 2 is done. Tech to Tier 3 started by PCG123. Meanwhile, Sini staying at Tier 2 a little bit longer, going dual Ancients of Lore and already having this Panda out. What is going to go down here? Dust of Appearance onto the Archer. Archer trying to hide away here. Death Knight may be able to land another Death Coil and gets the Death Coil onto the Null Warden instead. So able to get a little bit of bonus experience, or still taking and denying experience. Death Knight now still trying to lead the charge after this Archer. Archer does have Shadow Meld, but the Dust of Appearance lasts just long enough to finish things off. Death Knight now fighting alongside that Lich, or, well, Lich will be joining in on the party momentarily. Death Knight did not pick up Boots of Speed for that Lich, oddly enough, as he's going to head over to this Fountain of Health on Concealed Hill to, well, regenerate some of those necessary lost hit points. Now, Sini looking to go after this Rock Golem creep camp here. There's a boulder onto the Keeper of the Grove. Lich is nearby. Damage could be racking up. We can see that Ancient of War is tanking a little bit of damage here. Mud Golem going to take a little bit down. It goes. That, well, that Ancient of War 37 to 47 normal damage, taking a good chunk of life off of that unit. Meanwhile, the Death Knight now back up to full hit points, going to teleport away, rejoin in with that Lich, get in a Rada Necromancy charge, get some skeletal minions, and here we are. We're going to see some detonations, yes, onto the Death Knight and that Lich right there, as the Archers, Death Coil, well, Frost Nova, as the Archer trying to back away down to 28 hit points, he gets taken down. Those Claws of Attack +5 doing their work, ensuring the kill. Archers didn't have enough armor to prevent any of that damage. Now, as we're looking at, well, Sini still just taking an absolute beating here. Death Knight Lich, 40 supply army. I don't know where the actual army is here. The Death Knight and the Lich, only 10 supply of this 35 supply army is actually engaging right now. It feels like Sini has the larger army, but this could all be part of PCG123's plan. Building up a large army back at home and swarming when his opponent is not ready for it. However, the Panda may be able to get to level 2 and then eventually level 3. If it does get to level 3, that's going to be a big deal. I believe the Ancient of War actually got the last hit on that Rock Golem. Hence, the reason why the Brewmaster didn't gain any experience right there. And that little bit loss of experience, perhaps a huge misstep, as we're going to be looking at a large number of ghouls joining in on the fight. And without Drunken Haze Breath of Fire, or a lack of experience, this Brewmaster's Breath of Fire, well, isn't going to be able to blow over those units nearly as easily. Panda quickly sells an item. We're going to take a little bit of damage. Scroll of Healing, Potion of Invulnerability, as the Panda now looks to retreat back here. Ancient of War wants the tank, and we're looking at a little bit of damage. Treants now coming out. Crypt Fiends perhaps could go for a little bit of poke onto those Dryads. There is a couple of Treants here. No Destroyers, though. There's going to be some damage. There's a Breath of Fire finally on that Brewmaster, getting to level 2 a little bit later than he would like. All right, more damage. Frost Nova going down. There goes another Treant as well. Forest Troll Trapper going to get finished off. Lich with that Orb of Corruption and that Claws of Attack +5. Really hard-hitting unit right there. All right, there goes an ensnare onto an Obsidian statue. Naga Sea Witch as the third and final hero for Undead. PCG123 does have Cold Arrows, could follow it up with Fork Lightning, and we know how powerful that can be. Meanwhile, Sini trying to use the additional economy to be able to go into low upkeep and still maintain an economic advantage. hero levels. However, well, level 3, level 2 going against 3-1-1. Gonna be difficult to say really who has the advantage here, as the Panda does not have an Orb of Venom, so not able to attack up onto the high ground here, as the Red Drake now looking to back away. All right, a little bit of damage. Keeper of the Grove gonna inch its way forward. Panda gonna continue to fight. Both sides clearing out red creep camps. But the Red Drake is going to be, well, difficult to take down. Ogre Magi going to get taken out. Brewmaster really wants to get to level 2. Keeper of the Grove sitting at level 3. And it may come down to hero level experience. 4-2-2 now. A sudden hero level power up. The illusion purposely, well, getting into harm's way here, as we're looking at, there goes another unit. Both sides ready to fight. That Brewmaster still shy of level 3. Crypt Fiends, Ghouls. We're going to look at that Forest Troll High Priest perhaps get taken down here pretty easily. Obsidian Statue, well, providing plenty of hit points. Down to the southern side here, Panda still looking to get that last bit of experience. We see a large number of Dryads, and, well, mass Dryads in order to combat the Fork Lightning and the Frost Nova of the Undead Army. Very strong call here. There is only 2 Crypt Fiends, a third Crypt Fiend now being added, so perhaps a little bit of poke. So 3 Crypt Fiends is equivalent to about 5 Dryads, but there's a lot of Dryads here. 46 supply army compared to 54, but remember, some of those ghouls are on that lumber line, so it's about 50 compared to 46 right now overall. All right, the additional economy of Sini should allow him to trade efficiently. Meanwhile, we're going to be looking at an engagement here. There's an Ancient Protector. That Ancient Protector going to get taken down really quickly. Scroll of Town Portal to try and defend. No, yes, there is Nature's Blessing, and in come the Dryads. Slow Poison not applied. Units able to retreat back as they head back off to the north. All right. What is PCG123 looking to do here? He is not expanding. He's sitting at 56 over 70 supply, and he may be trying to do a mass 1 base timing push. There is about, 9 minutes left of mining here in the main base. PCG123 could try and unsummon all of his buildings and just build a large army here. We're looking at Moonwells turning back around. Panda trying to get in a Drunken Haze Breath of Fire. Gonna go ahead and go for that Breath of Fire. No, looked like he went for a Breath of Fire, but he clicked on the Crypt Fiend who had burrowed, so it stopped the animation. Both sides continuing to fight there. There's Dust of Appearance. We're gonna see a couple of low hit point Crypt Fiends now popping back up as they are now revealed. 1 Crypt Fiend now down. These Dryads versus these Crypt Fiends, and there are still a handful of Crypt Fiends out. Lich not able to get some big Frost Novas down. There's level 3 now on the Panda, so Drunken Haze, Breath of Fire trying to blow things over across all of these Obsidian Statues. The Obsidian Statues, the glue holding the army together. And we're looking at Dryads still dancing back around Crypt Fiends, Ghouls finishing things off. There's another Death Coil here. How many Crypt Fiends are left? The Crypt Fiends are absolutely key. There is a Burrow, but the Burrow, Death Coil keeps him alive again. All right, so the Dust of Appearance keeping these Crypt Fiends, above ground since they're not able to play a game of Whack-A-Mole. 55 supply compared to 49. Not enough Crypt Fiends as the Dust of Appearance, revealing those Crypt Fiends, forcing them to, allowing them to be killed. Destroyer still going after some targets here, but there's plenty of Dryads to finish them off as the Dryads easily counter those Destroyers. The Panda is now starting to rack up damage onto the Obsidian Statue, and perhaps this was a misstep by PCG123 trying to engage in front of the Night Elf base with so many Moonwells. All right, Naga Sea Witch of PCG123 still staying alive here. There goes an Obsidian Statue. More damage. Slow Poison there. Treant's going to get taken down. Are we going to see this Panda go after this target? Naga Sea Witch down to 115 hit points, trying to double back around. Naga Sea Witch could get taken down, and it does end up falling. All right, turning back around here. Units are now a little bit separated. Death Knight now going to perhaps try and chase. There's a Staff of Teleportation away. Brewmaster says, I'll catch you later. All right, Dryads now simply retreating. Crypt Fiends, Crypt Fiends could have gotten a little bit of damage here, trying to get a little bit of pathing. Are we going to see a shot or two? That is the question there, as the Dryad escapes away at 135 hit points. All right, Sini still sitting on multiple bases. Death Knight, Lich, Well, still trying to level up here. No more obsidian statues, so the Panda's Breath of Fire extremely effective against those obsidian statues, able to rack up more damage. We're looking at 5-3 right now for Undead compared to Sini's 4, nearly level 4, as another obsidian statue tries to walk on by, but, well, down to half life already. Actually, no, well, I guess 2/3 life. All right. Coming through. Well, Moonwalls are still fairly full. We are getting up more Dryads. Are we going to perhaps get some more Crypt Fiends? Yes, that's exactly what PCG123 wants. More Crypt Fiends as this Dryad army now prancing its way over. There goes an Entangle. Are we going to see, well, there's a Death Coil. There's a Devour Magic. Panda, Drunken Haze, Breath of Fire. Big damage across the board. No more Dust. Well, nope, I take it back. There's a Dust of Appearance followed by, well, a lot of Focus Fire onto that Crypt Fiend. So, yeah, the Focus Fire, a big deal. Another Entangle going down. There's another Devour Magic. The Destroyers trying to live up to their name here, destroying any of those spells that are getting cast here. As we're looking at more damage getting racked up. There's another 500 or 600 hit point heal. A little bit of an overheal. Crypt Fiend's trying to finish off, trying to get finished off. There's a Breath of Fire finishing things there, as the Panda, well, using that Breath of Fire, able to get some last bit of damage onto that Crypt Fiend once more. Staff of Preservation for the save. Dryads now trying to retreat back. We are looking at 2/2 upgraded Dryads, so that gold is being used fairly heavily. Staff of Teleportation inbound back, and here we are, here we go, trying to add in a little bit more damage. All right. There's a Scroll of Healing again. Are we going to see another Breath of Fire? There's another Burrow. There's a Breath of Fire finding that Crypt Fiend there. And wow, Sini doing an amazing job. Could take down that Naga Sea Witch. It falls as well, and I believe that's going to be the beginning of the end. 71 supply compared to 42. Crypt Fiends are getting lost on both sides. And, well, PCG123 Army is just having too difficult of a time trying to stay alive as, well, he leaves the game. Sini outlasting PCG123 here. If you take a look at the scores, PCG123 actually outscoring his opponent, and the unit scores were actually fairly close. More experience on the enemy heroes, 5-3-3, but with that Naga Sea Witch out of the equation, getting taken down twice, well, we already saw the beginning of the end. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below.